Well, today's episode is going to be a little interesting and different. Now, as many of you know, I did not review any reviews from this past Tuesday due to the fact I was catching up with Stardom because, as you probably know, we wrapped up, of course, the Goddesses of Stardom Tag League. But for the Tuesday episode that I could not do, features, of course, Ring of Honor because it had a very special episode that was free on YouTube. So it featured many matches, including some that may be kind of connected to the upcoming Final Battle event this coming Friday, of course. And then we move on with WWE NXT. As you know, we are now getting close to deadline. We have various matches taking places, a lot of things, and we're going to be going from A to Z because there's a lot of implications that leads to it. And of course, their last pay-per-view of the year, of course, New Year's Evil. And then we move on, of course, with WWE Evolve featuring, of course, the Women's Evolve Championship. Kendal Gray defends her title against Chantel Monroe, who has been aiming for this belt. And now the real question is, can Kendal Gray retain the belt, or will Chantel Monroe, of course, obtain it? Well, we'll see how that rolls up. And then we move on with AEW Dynamite. As you probably can guess, a lot of things took place. Apparently, of course, we're continuing with more of the Continental Classic, so we'll see how things will change until then. And then we wrap up our episode, as always, with some news updates to give you guys updates of what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. Anywhere pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information has been unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, do the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us and click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough of the jibber jabbers. Let's get to it. So, let's begin with Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor. Now, as you all know, Ring of Honor put out a very special Tuesday episode on YouTube. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Now, our first match features Beast Mortos taking on Gravity. Now, it's obvious many of you don't know this. Beast Mortos is going to be facing Ine Bandito and 4 others for the ROH World Championship. And as you probably know, Gravity is the real-life brother of Bandito. So I'm sure Beast Mortos is intending to take his frustrations out on him on that, which of course he did. He took him out with a spinning lariat, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, se acabó. Just like that. Now moving on, we have the Frat House, consistent of course of Jack Jamison and Griff Garrison, but they're being joined with their pledge Rosario Grillo. As you know, he is not a full-time member, but he's their pledge. They faces against the Outrunners, Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum, and of course, boys, that's right, Dalton Castle. Now, obviously, maybe you guys saw that Preston Vance was outside of the ring, but unfortunately, of course, things were not going according to plan for the frat house. So instead of trying to finish off what they started, well, let's just say that they tossed Grillo into the wolves. Well, he was taken out by the Outrunners and Dalton Castle until Dalton Castle applied the bangarang, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it's over. So that means Rosario Grillo is out of the pledge. So that's my assumption right there. Our next match, now as you know, Shane Taylor Promotions and Skyfly Team are at war with each other. Now we're getting to see the ladies take each other out. We have, of course, representing Shane Taylor's promotion, Trish Adora taking on Layla Gray representing Skyflight. So you all know how that's going to be. However, many of you might have thought, just by hearing the names or watching this, you would have assumed that Trish Adora would have been the most likely person to pick up the win, since she has a bit of the more experience than Layla Gray. But somehow Layla Gray's training has been paying off. Apparently she applied a butterfly brainbuster, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, she brought the win for her team just like that. So we'll see what happens until then, because as you all know, at Final Battle, Shane Taylor Promotions will defend the ROH World Six-Man Tag Team titles against Skyflight. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Moving on, we have the Dark Order. Johnny Huggins, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, and Evil Uno taking on Vin Parker, Jimmy House, and Jay Alexander. Now, obviously, many of you probably would think this match is going straight to Dark Order. Well, your assumption is correct, because of course they are the fan favorite, they have the most experience, and of course they are well recognized. They were able to end this match with the pendulum bomb onto Vin Parker, but it was of course Johnny Hunging who was the legal person to pin Parker, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, we had a very interesting interview with Lex Lanier talking to Layla Gray, and of course someone who many of you know, and I talked about her recently, and that is of course Zeta Steel. So basically, they are here. Now, the reason this interview happened, it was under the request from Zeta Steel. Now, many of you remember, there's been a lot of talk between both AEW and of course Zeta Steel. As you all know, Zeta Steel was part of the WWE ID Prospect, but now she's no longer a part, and that's why we saw her there. So she made like a somewhat of a debut there. But the reason she made this interview was because she feels like she wants to put herself out there, because she has been watching Layla Gray, what she did, because both these ladies are total baddies. So basically, Layla Gray agreed. So I don't know when that's going to happen. I don't know if that's going to happen this Wednesday or maybe after, but we'll stay tuned for that. Now, as for our main event, we have Diamante taking on Persephone. Now, of course, obviously, as you all know, Diamante is one of Athena's minions, of course, and I'm sure that the barking orders is to her Persephone. As you all know, Persephone is challenging Athena for the ROH Women's World Title, and that's something that Athena does not like, when people challenge the belt without her saying so. And of course, Diamante's true business is to take her out. But in the end, Persephone was prevailed when she applied a moonsault, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. But however, of course, Athena would do whatever it takes to soften up Persephone before Final Battle. Well, it failed. Even Diamante tried to help, but nope, it was completely useless. So the real question is, can Persephone defeat Athena and end her reign once and for all at Final Battle? Well, we'll just have to wait and see when that happens. So until then, that's how we end things with Ring of Honor. So let's move on with NXT. NXT. As you all know, we're heading to Deadline. Now, of course, General Manager Ava was in the ring along with the participants for the upcoming Women's Iron Survival Challenge. Now, for those who don't know, this is, of course, where you have to make the most wins in a match in order to get a shot of the NXT Women's title. So we have, of course, the participants. We had Kendal Gray, Sol Ruka, Lola Vice, who else? I try to remember. Oh yeah, Kalani Jordan, and I think we had I forgot who was the other person, but yes, of course they all had to say what they had to say regarding. Oh yeah, and Jordan Grace. I forgot now, Jordan Grace. However, of course, we all know that the Fatal Influence are determined to prove that none of them are going to be successful enough to beat her, but she's kind of curious to see which one of them, who she likes to call losers, will do it. But we'll see how that rolls. But however, of course, the Fatal Influence decided to try to beat them up, but failed miserably. So we'll see how that rolls up from there. Now, we did see Thea Hale talking to Joe Hendry earlier in the day until they were interrupted by Stax and his girlfriend Ariana Grace. And of course, this led to a match between the two of them. Of course, we had Thea Hale versus Ariana. Now, of course, when it comes to Stax to do whatever it takes to ensure his lovely girlfriend wins the match, well, Joe Hendry took matters in his own hands and gave him a standing ovation. But it was Thea Hale with the Kimura lock, and just like that, Ariana Grace had no choice but to tap. But we do know that Joe Hendry, as you know, has a date with Destiny at Deadline. So we'll talk more about that. Now, Ava Marie was not happy with, the general manager, Ava, was not happy with, of course, the Fatal Influence, what they tried to do. So, however, she put all three of these ladies to be in a match, of course, against the people involved in the Iron Survival Challenge. So we have Soruka, Lola Vice, and Kendal Gray. So that's going to happen. Of course, Fatal Influence were not happy with it. Now, Uriah Connor and Kill Dixon they were in a car and they almost run over OTM. And of course, Chase Owens said, "Look, we're sorry. We didn't mean for that to happen." And of course, OTM felt like they were being run over, and Chase Owens was not happy with the whole thing. It's just too funny. Now, we have Josh Briggs taking on Tavion Heights. If you guys saw what happened in Gold Rush, Josh Briggs attacked Tavion Heights, and this is what led to this match. Now, of course, it looks more like the match would have gone into Tavion Heights' corner, but of course there was a little snag. Briggs was about to use the chain off his neck, and somehow it failed. But in the end, of course, Tavion Heights was unaware about the in-ring, knowledge from Briggs. He was well aware once he got taken out by the belly-to-belly suplex, his foot was on the ground. But Josh Briggs took him out with the lariat, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, General Manager Ava was talking with 4 of the 5 participants in, of course, the Men's Iron Survival Challenge and Deadline. We're talking about Miles Bourne, Leon Slater, Javon Evans, and Joe Hendry. Now, the idea what they were talking about for this, of course, apparently there's a stipulation. Whoever wins the match, of course, will pick their spot in, of course, at the Iron Survival Challenge. But however, if Darkseid wins, of course, well, Dion Lennox actually will pick. So that's how it happened. But however, Mr. Stone showed up with the box that was open, and there was and of course, Ava actually looked in. I don't know what it was, but yeah, whatever it was that led to it. Now, Izzy Dane made her appearance in the ring along with the rest of the culling. Of course, explaining to her what her actions were. She felt, that Tatum Paxley ignored everything that she did. Ignored her about her, her kindness and all of that. But now that Tatum Paxley is out, well, the real question is what's going to happen. So Tatum Paxley says that she's scared. She's scared about what she's about to do without Izzy Dane. Now, of course, Izzy Dane probably thinks that nothing's going to happen. But we don't know that until. But Tatum Paxley made it clear that this is going to happen at New Year's Evil. So we'll see what happens until then. Now, of course, Ren Sinclair was hanging out with Kendal Gray, Lola Vice, and Soruka, prepare for their match later on against Fatal Influence. But however, Zarya was having a little conversation with Soruka. I'm pretty sure, as you all know, Soruka was not by her side when Zarya failed to capture the WWE Women's Speed title. So you all know how that's going to turn out. Now, our next match, we had the Fatal Influence. JZ Jane, our current NXT Women's Champion, Fallon Henley, our current WWE Women's Speed Champion, and Reed taking on Kendal Gray, Lola Vice, and Soruka. Now, of course, you all determined to think that Fatal Influence will have the bigger edge since they're more cohesive. But however, it was Soruka with the Soul Snatcher onto Daisy Jane, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. So basically, they picked up the win. But out of nowhere, Zarya tried to spear Soruka, but it was Kendal Gray that got caught. So it looked more like Zarya was attempting to take her out, but it failed. We don't know what's going to happen until then. I wouldn't be surprised if Zarya interferes in the match, of course, for Soruka at deadline. So we'll see how that turns out. Now, NXT Anonymous apparently revealed a video where Javon Evans was having a nice conversation with Ricky Smokes, talking about the NXT Championship. Now, you all know that Ricky Saints will be defending it against Obafemi, so you probably can guess what's happening here. Now, we did see OTM taking on Chase Hughes, Cale Dixon, and Uriah Connors. Well, you can tell that Chase Hughes had everything under control. They had a game plan, but sometimes game plans may not go according to plan. So it failed miserably. But in the end, it was, of course, the team up between OTM onto Uriah Connors. But it was Lucian Price that picked up the win by pinfall. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, Darkseid, as you know, they are well aware of what's happening with the upcoming deadline event at the Iron Survival Challenge. But however, Dion Lennox decided to give his title to, of course, his teammate Shaquam, and as a token to say that he earned it. And of course, he refused, but Cutler James saying, "You earned it, man," because Dion Lennox believes that he's the one who's going to walk out as the winner. And then, of course, they ran into Obafemi. But Dion Lennox said that if he does win, he'll come after him for the title. But we'll see how that rolls out from there. Now, Ava was talking to Ethan Page, of course, because Ethan Page, as you know, has not defended the North American Championship. But apparently, a challenger just appeared, and that challenger is Mr. Iguana. So he just drove up with his Ethan Page's car. So she's like, "He stole my car. What do you want me to do with the cops? Tell them that it was taken by a lizard?" And I thought that was hilarious. I thought it was great. Now, our next match, we have Joe Hendry, Leon Slater, Javon Evans, and Miles Bourne taking on the full force of Darkseid. Now, it's kind of obvious that we know Darkseid, how they work. They like to dismantle the opposition. But, however, things didn't go according to plan. But we did see a bit of a, ego taking place. Javon, I think it was Leon Slater that had this match right under control, but Miles Bourne tagged himself in out of the blue, and then he applied the Born Again onto Osiris, and just like that, 1, 2, 3. We probably think that Miles Bourne did that to get the advantage of whatever spot he decided to pick at the Iron Survival Challenge at deadline. But we'll see what happens. Now, the entire NXT event was over when the contract signing between Obafemi and Ricky Saint has happened, so we'll see what's going to happen until then. So I think that's pretty much it what we had for NXT, so let's move on with WWE Evolve. Okay, WWE Evolve. Now, we opened up with Kendal Gray. As you all know, she is part of the main event where she'll be defending the Women's Evolve Championship against Chantel Monroe. However, we know that Kendal Gray is fully aware that she's being targeted in all sides. First, of course, was Peter Vasa, and of course, Chantel Monroe. So she is fully aware of the stakes here. So we'll see what happens after she wins, of course, in her match or not. So we'll see. Now, our first match, we have Kendal Gray's best friend, Carly Bright, taking on Ariana Grace. Now, of course, we know that Carly Bright has what it takes to pick up a win, but Ariana Grace was able to prevail when she applied the Grace Slam, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, over. Now, we did see, of course, Nikita Lyons in the back just minding her own business until she was approached by Layla Diggs and Mason Holiday. Now, it seems that these ladies were looking for ways to pick up wins, and Layla Diggs chosen Nikita Lyons, and of course, Nikita Lyons gladly accepted, but she is confident enough that she will be prevailing. So we'll pay attention when that day comes. Now, we did see Aaron Rourke, Marcus Mathers taking on Mike Cunningham, Cappuccino Jones, and of course the match was awesome. I mean, this could have ended either way, whoever comes out on top on this one. But this match ended in a no contest when, of course, uh, Presley and Riggins showed up and attacked all sides, and then Keanu Carver showed up out of the blue and attacked the other Rourke, Mathers, Cunningham, and Jones. The reason is this, as you all know, if you all remember, all four of these guys have one thing in common, and they are part of the WWE ID Prospect. Keanu Carver hates these guys. They feel like they're the ones who feel like the privileged ones, and of course, Priestley and Riggins feel like, hey, they shouldn't be here at all. But that's how it's going to be. So it looks more like a war will begin. Now, our main event is the WWE Evolve Women's Championship. Kendal Gray defends it against Chantel Monroe. Now, there were moments in this match you would have assumed that Kendal Gray would have lost. She pulled up every stop as possible to retain the belt, and of course, every weapon that, of course, in Kendal Gray's arsenal, somehow Chantel Monroe was able to kick out. And it's the same thing with Chantel Monroe back and forth. But the one thing we did not predict was the fact that Wendy Chu attacked Chantel Monroe. Now, we would have thought by then, because of this attack, that would have been it from there. But no, Chantel Monroe continues on and on. But, however, of course, Kendal Gray finally took her out with the Shades of Grey. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, she retained the belt. But, however, the program ends with an interview with Chewy Martinez talking to Sean Legacy and Tate Wild. However, it was revealed that next week there's going to be a number one contendership for the Men's Evolve Championship against Jackson Drake. But the real question, who's going to walk out? Well, this is where the egos comes in, of course. Tate Wild is confident enough to say he's going to win. So does Sean Legacy, but we'll see what happens until then. So as of right now, we're done with Evolve. Let's move on with AEW Dynamite. Okay, AEW Dynamite. Now, we opened up with a little bit of a face-to-face confrontation between Samoa Joe, who is our current AEW World Champion and 1/3 of the AEW World Trios Champion, taking on Eddie Kingston. Now, of course, there was one question that many people ask. Why was Hook hanging out with Eddie Kingston? Well, let's just say that, of course, it was to ensure that Hook knows exactly what he's going. But however, of course, Eddie Kingston did not like the fact that Samoa Joe mentioned about one particular person, his mentor and friend, Homicide. But he did mention that he will deal with them at Winter is Coming, which he will have his opportunity for the AEW World title. Now, the Ops, of course, sent a direct message to Dark Order. We're consistent of Shibata, Hook, and Hobbs. They'll be in an eliminator match. Now, however, the stipulation is if Dark Order wins, they get a shot at the AEW World Trios titles. Now, as I mentioned before, we'll continue with more of the Continental Classic. We go on with the Gold League here. We have Pac versus Kazuchika Okada. Now, keep in mind, folks, Pac have already won his first match on last week. Okada was not successful. But the one thing we can agree on, Okada cannot afford to lose another match because this will be bad for him. But of course, Pac did everything humanly possible to take out Okada, because I'm sure it would have gone down in history as the bastard who took out the Rainmaker. But the Rainmaker somehow was able to reverse and counter the brutalizer that Pac was intending to use on him. And of course, 1, 2, 3, Okada finally gets his 3 points. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if later on Pac will get revenge for that loss, but we'll see what happens. Now, Mark Briscoe was talking to Daniel Garcia, well, not in face-to-face, but he questioned him about his recent development. He did state it, of course, that he beat Daniel Garcia one time, and he lost to him when he was at the time the TNT champion. But he doesn't see Daniel Garcia as the person that he remembers and knows now. So basically, he wants to know who he is now because he feels he's nothing but a bunch of nonsense. But we'll see. Now that the man, of course, consistent of Ricochet, Taylor Ona, and Bishop Khan, were in fact talking to what's on the agenda. Ricochet, as you know, will be defending the AEW National Championship at ROH, and of course, he's been getting calls and emails from various promotions to defend this title. So we don't know what's going to happen, but he's been making things very clear. Now, in an interview with Renee Paquette, it was revealed that in the conglomeration, Orange Cassidy will be facing Roderick Strong at Collision, and this will be, of course, the first time. But it seems that Roderick Strong is making it perfectly clear that he is not part of the conglomeration. So, we'll see how things will grow from there. Now, we continue with more of the Continental Classic Gold League, I believe. Yes, we have Kyle Fletcher versus Kevin Knight. And I thought this match was fantastic. I mean, look, we have seen the agility and athletics of Kevin Knight. You can tell he can try to dodge and weave everything he can that Kyle Fletcher throws at him. And I mean, it would have been a major upset if Kevin Knight would have defeated Kyle Fletcher. I mean, he was a former TNT champion, and that would have been a thing where he could have had an opportunity for that belt at some later time in the future. But of course, things didn't go well for Knight when he ended up being on the sheer brainbuster, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, Don Callis decided to show up and do a little ring me promo talking about the Young Bucks. Apparently, the Young Bucks had enough of what they had to hear, and of course, it was an ambush by the Don Callis family until, of course, the Jurassic Express showed up and tried to give them a hand until Kenny Omega showed up. And it's interesting to see the Bucks, Kenny, and the Jurassic Express unite in some capacity. I mean, you got to remember, these guys have been part of the AEW from day one, and it's interesting to see that. So, but however, of course, I failed to mention this, that Kyle Fletcher, as you know, has gained 3 new points, so that means he has a total of 6. So he's in the lead in the Gold League, while Kevin Knight has 3. So we'll see what happens down the road in the Continental Classic. Now, as you know, the AEW Women's Tag Team Tournament is continuing with its semifinals. As you probably know, the Babes of Wrath, Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron, have already made it to the finals. But the real question is, who will be the opponents? Will it be, of course, Marina Shafir and Megan Bayne, or will it be Timeless Love Bombs? However, as you all know, Timeless Love Bomb won the stipulation on who's going to be, what's the stipulation is going to be for their match against Shafir and Bayne. Well, it turned out to be a hardcore holiday death match, and of course, it was a brutal match. You know, a lot of plunder, like, you know, tables, ladders, and chairs, and all that. You would have assumed, because of course, certain things were about to be repeat regarding of what happened with Mina when they forced Tony Storm to watch, you know, Mina suffer and force her to surrender, that sort of thing. But it didn't do any good the last time and today, because Mina used a broken pool stick, a cube stick, of course, and got out of it. But we did see Santa Claus out of nowhere, and I was like, what is Santa Claus doing? Well, Santa Claus flipped off Shafir, and it turned out to be Luther, who we haven't seen for quite some time. According to Tony Storm, he was out on injury on his private parts. And then, of course, Tony Storm, we all forgot about the shoe. Yet, she used the shoe on Marina Shafir, then applied the inside cradle, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. So that means, of course, in the finals, it's going to be the Babes of Wrath and Timeless Love Bomb. So that's going to be it. But now, I want to put something out here. There was a little thing that Brian Alvarez of Wrestling Observer mentioned, that he believes that the titles are definitely going to go straight, of course, to Tony Storm and Mina Shirakawa. Now, do you guys agree with that? Because I feel like, you know, it could head up to that. But we'll just wait and see. And that match will take place next week. Now, Dark Order were making their way to the ring to take on their match, of course, in the Eliminator. But, of course, they saw Hangman. However, Johnny Silver told him, look, I know how much you hate the Ops right now. But right now we have an opportunity for the AEW World Trio style. So please do not interfere. So Hangman goes, okay, fine. I won't interfere. But once it's over, all bets are off. So basically, he abided by their wishes. Now, we did see interview with Renee Paquette talking to Mercedes Moné. As you know, she was unsuccessful with the not obtaining the AEW Women's World Title. But however, her biggest thing on her mind right now is Red Velvet. As you all know, Red Velvet was the previous ROH Women's World Television Champion, and she'll be, of course, defending the belt at, of course, the final battle. So you all know how that's going to be. Now, FTR and Stokely Hathaway had some things to say about the Bang Bang Gang. As you probably know, they challenged for the AEW World Tag Team belts, but of course, FTR made it clear that after what happens now, if they do lose this, there'll be no other time again, because they did lose to them twice. So we'll see how that rolls up from there. Now, our next match is the AEW World Trios title eliminator, the Ops versus Dark Order. Now, it seems everything would have gone perfectly according to plan for the Dark Order, but the Ops had a much better plan. They were able to isolate everyone except for Uno, who ended up being spinebuster by Hobbs, and just like that, they won. And then, of course, we did see Hangman and Page, who decided to attack the Hobbs, and just like that, and including the Ops Dojo got their asses handed to them. And then, of course, security guards showed up to restrain, of course, Hangman from attacking the Ops, but, well, they got their asses handed to them as well. But, of course, Hangman did state that he will be dealing with Ops and Shibata at Winter Coming, but he did say that he is not coming alone. But the real question is, who is going to be joining him? Some people speculate it's Swerve. Well, we just don't know about that yet. Now, we did see an interview with Renee Paquette talking to Don Callis about everything's happening, but of course tensions are high within the family between Takeshita and Okada, but we'll see how things will roll from there, because they believe that either way, whoever out of the three competitors involved in the Continental Classic will walk out with the Continental Classic in the name of the Don Callis family. So we'll see about that. Now, our main event is for the Continental Classic Blue League, and it's a Death Rider showdown. We have Jon Moxley taking on Claudio Castagnoli. And it's interesting to see these two in the same battle. But the obvious question is, who's going to walk out on top? We know that Claudio was successful enough, of course, to they both successful on day one for them. But who's walking out? I mean, it was a very tough thing. Even Bryan Danielson said something. I don't remember what it was, but it most likely that Claudio could be somewhat of a new leader, feeling that he should step up in some capacity. But it was, of course, Claudio that walked out with the win and just took him out. And just like that, he gained 6 new points. He's now in the lead in the Blue League. So we don't know what's going to happen until then. And this is a very disappointing loss for Jon Moxley. But we'll stay tuned for more of that. But as of right now, we are done with all our reviews at the moment. Let's end this episode with some news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So let's begin with upcoming events, starting with GCW. Now, as you know, on the 6th of December, which is, the 5th of December, I believe, they will be, of course, at Seattle for Say You Will. They just announced Drew Parker will be in action to take on Viperous, so that's going to be one brutal match. And then, of course, as you know, we have the Nick Invitational 10 that'll happen on the 13th of December in Orlando. Number 8 has been announced, and that's going to be Little Sicko. Now, we do have some bit of Stardom updates as well. Many of you know that in Japan they do have their own Comic-Con, and it's going to be landing in Tokyo on December 5th. They announced that several Stardom talents will be in 2 matches in the same day. The first match, we have, of course, the members of Neo Genesis. Azumi, Mei Sera, and Miya Masaki will take on the members of God's Eye, Amisuri, Lady C, and Rani Agami. And another match has been announced, and we have, of course, Rian, Kyoko Furuzawa, they take on Yuri Him and MMI Shima. Now, this coming Monday, of course, which is going to be a Monday nighter, they just announced the full card for the upcoming event, and this is exactly what the card is going to be. We have, of course, MMI Shima will be taking on Yuki Mashiro. Matoi Hamabe and Anakane, who will be making the return after their absent due to injuries, they'll be facing each other. We have Azumi, Miyo Misaki, and Meisera from, of course, Neo Genesis taking on the members of God's Eye, Tomoka Inaba, Lady C, and of course we have Kyoko Furuzawa joining them. We have Azuki and Koguma taking on Momo Kogo and Yuri Him. Natsupoi, Yuna Mizumori, and Aya Sakura, the Cosmic Angels, will take on Suri, Mikukane, and Chi-Chi. So as you know, Natsupoi and Suri will be facing each other in a singles action, I believe, at some point. God's Eye members, Shuri, Saki Kashima, Hina Ranehigami, and of course Kiyoka Kotatsu will take on Mi Vida Loca, Suzuki, Rina Yamashita, Izuki Aoki, Bozilla, and Akira Kurigani. We have, of course, a very interesting matchup. We have Maika, Sayuri Anu, Sayaka Kurara, and a mystery partner. They'll be taking on the members of Hate, Sayaka Mitani, Natsuko Raka, and Azusa Inaba. Then we have, of course, the Artists Championship belt on the line. Rian, Konami, and Fukigen Def will defend them against the EXV, Hanako, Waka, and of course Rian. And then there's the number one contendership for the Wonder of Stardom title between Ami Suri and Saya Ida. So whoever walks out of this match will face Konami at Dream Queendom by the end of this year. Now moving on, as you know, Wrestling Revolver will have their last show of the year on the 13th of December called Final Season. They announced a Macombre death match. Cruel will be take on Allen Angels. Seattle-based promotion will have DEFY will have the Eon event on the 27th of December. 2 matches have been announced. The first one is a 6-woman tag team match. We have Nicole Mathers, Lisa Hall, Danica Diehard. They take on Vert Vixen, Amari, and Rebel Vert. And then we have, of course, Judas Icarus versus Cody Shun. Now, Prestige Wrestling, as you know, on February 20th will be their last show until they go to hiatus, but they announced that the Prestige World title will be on the line, and we'll see who will walk out as the last champion. Of course, it's a rematch between Kevin Blackwood and Judas Icarus. And then finally, as you know, West Coast Pro have their upcoming event on the 27th of February, Evil Empire, and it's for the Women's Championship. Johnny Robbie defends her belt against Lady Luck. So that's pretty much what happened. Now, as you know, we already stepped in the month of December. 2 things have happened on the 1st of December. First, we want to give happy birthday to Kiyoka Kotatsu. Many of you know her from Stardom. She just turned 25, so happy birthday. And also on that very same day, Sora Ayame, many of you know her. She's the rookie down in Marvelous. Well, she just celebrated her 1st year anniversary since she started out as a wrestler, so congratulations on that. Fightful Select reports that Lena Kross, as you know, may be heading to AEW. So that's excellent news. We know she has appeared in AEW before. It's still unclear what else is going to happen, but we'll stay tuned more for that. Now, certain things have been announced. Many of you know recently that Mirai, who is now currently wrestling with Michiko Pro Wrestling, but she also is going to be wrestling outside of it. She made her triumphant return, of course, to Tokyo Pro Wrestling. For many of you that know this, prior before Stardom, she was in Tokyo Pro Wrestling, and she had a different look at the time. And she kind of explained a little bit about that, saying that Michiko Pro Wrestling supporting her participation in Tokyo Pro Wrestling. And this is what she said. They told me if something Mirai wants to do, it's better to make it happen. So they totally given me the okay to appear in other promotions. I hope to become an opportunity to spread the word of Michiko, even just a little. So yeah, so many of you would say that they really approved her to go participate in Tokyo Pro Wrestling. Well, they'd say yes, it's cool. Don't forget, she does have a bit of history there too, so it would make absolute sense. Now, as you guys know, there's been talk about, of course, recently people are saying that who will be the number 2 wrestling promotion in the world. That would be TNA or AEW. Well, apparently TNA Silver President Carlos Silva speak about that, and this is what he had to say. We hear about all that time, and we talk about it all the time. We're competing with ourselves to be the best promotion we can be. Right now, there is a big number 1, and that's WWE. And TKO and their parent company, both WWE and UFC, are number 1 in both their categories. We're lucky to have a partnership with WWE and NXT. We're going to continue to make TNA as a result of that. Whether all of the talk around are the bigger than AEW or AEW bigger than us, it doesn't really matter. What matters is if you like TNA and you want to watch TNA, and by the way, if you like AEW, you should watch AEW. It's okay. You're allowed to watch all the different shows and be a wrestling fan. It's part of the competitive nature. It's part of the wrestling sort of undercurrent that happens in social. But I think a lot of people are just a bunch of clickbaits that just trying to get people to click. We're going to keep trying to be the best we can. Everyone already seen the difference, and they are telling us we're doing better. We're going to grow, and we're going to AMC to do it in 2026. Yeah, so many of you may not have heard this. They apparently have a TV deal. But I like what Carlos Silva's saying. It's like, does it really matter who's number 2? I mean, look, we know TNA has struggled. I know there have been bad decisions back in the day, thanks to Dixie Carter. We know they have struggled, even the name change and all that. I get it. They're trying to grow on their own terms, not the people's terms. They're trying to show they can still do things that it matters. And of course, Carlos Silva said, look, if you like AEW, then good. That's okay with us, They're not saying you're not allowed to watch AEW. And that's what I like about Carlos Silva. He's saying, if you like TNA, good. If you like AEW, good. If you like WWE, good. That's fine. And the fact that's what's important. He doesn't care who's number 2. It doesn't matter. Either if they're popular than AEW or AEW popular less. It doesn't matter. I think that's the thing that's missing. I mean, do you guys agree with Carlos Silva? Does it matter who's number 2? I mean, I feel like he's right. It doesn't matter. As long as you love what you watch. So yeah. So I think that's pretty much it what we have for now. So let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you probably know, we have more with Ring of Honor and TNA. Now, I haven't decided yet if I want to do more reviews. However, I did miss out to review 2 recent New Japan shows as we continue with World Tag League. So I may have to do those maybe either when I'm reviewing both Ring of Honor and TNA, or do it separately. I haven't decided that on yet. If I do have time, well, good for me. So we'll see how that rolls up from there. But as of right now, we'll leave things as it is. But until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.